Right then, the January transfer window has now closed and there's only 14 games to go in the Premier League this season. Let's have a little look at the latest predictions from the bookies for how the Premier League table will finish come May. Hello guys and welcome back to yet another video. As I say, today we are looking at the bookies' latest Premier League table predictions for how they think the table will look come May. I do need to point out to some people watching, these are not my predictions. We're looking at the bookies' predictions before you get in the comments and tell me off. If you disagree with the bookies' predictions, let me know your thoughts. Feel free to share your Premier League table predictions down in the comments. How do you think it's going to finish this season? And be sure to drop a like on this video. Let's go for 2,000 likes before we get into it. And make sure to subscribe. It takes 2 seconds and we're closing in on 91,000. So yeah, get involved if you like your Premier League stuff. With all that said and done, let's have a little look at what the bookies have to say. So then, the way I will present this to you today is on a tier list, so it's nice and easy to see. We've got the top 5, we've got the top half, we've got the mid-table teams, the teams surviving and the teams going down. And like I say, it's going to be interesting to see what the bookies have to say on this, given some of the recent results and some of the January transfer window activity now that the window has closed as well. Let's start from the bottom and work our way up, and it might not come as a massive surprise that the bookies are sticking with similar teams down here. First of all, Southampton, which is one I would agree with. Southampton are currently on 9 points and they are 10 points from safety. So you do the maths. It would take something special for them to stay up this season. I think it would take something special for them to avoid finishing bottom. What I do think, and I'm not being patronising, I do think they will get past Derby County's terrible record that some people said they wouldn't beat, which was 11 points. It was a good win against Ipswich last time, but there just isn't enough there for anyone to think they're going to get out of this. It would be one of the most remarkable stories if they stay up, but they're not even within touching distance. Ivan Juric has got a difficult task there. It looks like they're resigned to relegation. The bookies have got Leicester City joining them. The bookies have been adamant that the 3 newly promoted teams will go down pretty much all the way through this season, and they're sticking with Leicester in 19th place. Now, bear in mind, at the start of this season, a lot of us were questioning whether they might get a points deduction, and that would have been a killer blow, obviously, to get a chunk of points taken off them. But even though they're not going to, they managed to get away with that, there's not enough going for them to stay up. Now, I've said myself a few times that with Steve Cooper, they might have gone down, but they had a bit more of a fighting chance. They were picking up a couple of results, even if the football wasn't that entertaining. But with Ruud van Nistelrooy, they look so open. They've lost 7 of their last 8 games, and they've only conceded 1 less goal than Southampton, who are cut adrift down at the bottom. So, like I say, Leicester, they do have a chance, more than Southampton for sure. They're still within touching distance, but the form isn't great. There is players there that make me think, yeah, they could get a few results, but the bookies think they will face the drop. And it might not come as a surprise that they're also going for Ipswich. Right now, I do have to admit, it is looking very likely that it will be these 3, especially with the recent improvement at Everton and the recent victory for Wolves. For Ipswich, I thought, do you know what? They've picked up a couple of results. They beat Tottenham, they beat Chelsea, they did spend a bit of money, they've got decent players. McKenna's done an incredible job there, and they've got that continuity. But that defeat last time to Southampton has set off a few alarm bells, and they need to respond quickly, and they probably need to make up for it by beating another team, probably that they're not expected to now. You know, they've probably got to go and beat a Villa or a Newcastle or someone just to try and claw themselves back into this. The worrying thing for Ipswich and Leicester is if Wolves continue to pick results up, these 3 could be left behind. I think Southampton are gone. I still personally think Leicester and Ipswich have a chance, but the bookies are putting them in their bottom 3. Be sure to share your thoughts. It would be a crying shame for football that the 3 teams coming up from the Championship keep getting relegated from the Premier League, but is that where we are right now? Because it's looking very possible. Let's move on to the teams surviving. The bookies have gone with Wolves. If in my opinion, if there's one team that the bottom three can try and pull in, it's Wolves. Because you look at the points, Wolves are not that far away from that bottom three. But they've just got the quality, haven't they? And they've got the Premier League muscle memory. They know what to do to grind the results out. You could just see them getting over the line. And the fact that, Cunha's staying, he was linked with some moves away. That's like a new signing for Wolves. They've started to put things together. Don't get me wrong, they're in a difficult position still, but they're getting through a very difficult run of games right now, and they're still above that bottom three. So when the fixtures open up, Wolves could put some distance between themselves and the bottom three. The worrying thing would be if they lose to Ipswich away, and that gives those teams down at the bottom more of a chance. But right now, I think I am agreeing with what the bookies are saying here. Wolves in 17th. Just above them, they've gone for Everton in 16th. I agree with this one. I mean, I had Everton to finish 16th at the start of the season, and if I had to move them, I think they could finish a little bit higher. Given that David Moyes has now come in, there is a feel-good factor. They've won their last 3 games. All of a sudden, they're looking more confident. They look a bit more sharp in front of goal. They look more composed on the ball. Defensively, they're getting clean sheets now as well. I can see Everton pushing on, and now that they're, 9 points clear of the bottom 3, it would take something special for them to go down. Like I say, I think they would have to flatline. I think 30 points will be enough to stay up this season, and Everton already have 26. So good on Everton. Let's see if they can kick on. The bookies have them in 16th, and in 15th, the final team in this category, West Ham United, who've also changed their manager recently. It does feel like Graham Potter's made them a better team to watch. I know it's only been a couple of games and they have been missing a couple of players. They've just brought in Evan Ferguson. James Ward-Prowse has obviously come back from Nottingham Forest. They've got Jared Bowen, of course, who's a very good player for a team that's down this end of the table. I'm not concerned about West Ham going down. I think, like I say, the only team I think that could get pulled in is Wolves. So can West Ham kick on? I said a few weeks ago, I can see West Ham just being inconsistent for the rest of the season now, and it'll be looked on as a transitional season, and the summer could be really big for West Ham. Can they push on and be a top half team next season? Because it would take a lot for them to be a top half team this season, but we will see. Let's move on to 14th. The bookies have gone with Crystal Palace. Palace, a bit like West Ham and Everton, have been improving, and these teams have made themselves look quite clear of trouble and, quite safe at the same time. And if anything, they can start looking up the table. I mean, Crystal Palace, this has been a very good run from them. They're 6th in the form table over the last 10 games. If you keep this kind of form up, you will get into that top half. I was a bit surprised with how poor they were in the first half of the season, considering how good they were when Glasner came in towards the second half of last season. But fair play to them for sticking with Glasner. They're moving in the right direction now, and once again, look in no danger of going down. If you're a Palace fan, share your thoughts. Palace are currently 12th, so the bookies have actually moved them down a little bit, and that's because they've moved Manchester United and Tottenham up in these predictions. Speaking of Tottenham, the bookies have them in 13th currently. It's a difficult one, Tottenham. I mean, they're very inconsistent, so I think if you put them somewhere in the middle, that makes sense. Sometimes they look like a relegation threatened team, but they do obviously have the quality to be a top half team and a team that can push for Europe. They have been struggling with injuries. Obviously, that is a big factor into why they're struggling this season, but I still think Ange Postecoglou is looking very rattled this season. In every interview, he looks like he's really cheesed off, and I'm scared for the people that are interviewing him. I don't know. I really don't know with Tottenham. Like I say, last time they beat Brentford away 2-0, great result. Of course, they beat Liverpool in the first game of the Carabao Cup semi-final. They beat Manchester City 4-0 at their place. So there is good results in this team, but way too open sometimes. That said, they are currently 14th with a plus 11 goal difference. Tottenham make no sense, and the bookies are sticking them in 13th. In 12th place, the bookies are going with Brentford. I think you've got to put Brentford somewhere in the middle. They're currently in the middle. They're currently 11th place. A lot of the numbers are just pointing towards a mid-table team, which is great, to be honest. Remember, last season Brentford finished, was it 16th? So this is definitely a step back in the right direction. I wouldn't rule out that they could make European football, because it does seem like 6th and 7th place are very open this season, but Brentford maybe just lacking a little bit of consistency. Very entertaining to watch though. 42 goals scored, 42 goals conceded, which after 24 games is quite a lot of goals to be going in both directions. I've always liked Brentford's front line. You know, when they lost Tony, I always thought they'd be fine with Mbeumo and Visa, and yeah, this season is definitely a step back in the right direction. And then the final team in this category, the bookies are going for Manchester United in 11th. Once again, it's difficult this. Where do you put Man United and Tottenham? Because they are from the so-called Big Six, but they're not performing like top six teams, are they? Manchester United, it's another transitional season where they've changed the manager. Ultimately, they've got to give Amorim time, but at the same time, he's got to try and pull some results through. Obviously, they did beat Man City away 2-1, and you know they can give some of the best teams a good game. They also drew with Liverpool, but then they'll lose 2-0 at home to Palace and 3-0 at home to Bournemouth. But to be fair to Bournemouth, they've been better than Man United this season. Like I've said before, at Manchester United, they've definitely got the pull factor to spend a lot of money and bring in some big players, but there are deep-rooted problems there, so we will see what happens. The bookies have them 11th. On to the top 10 then, and this is crazy. It genuinely feels like one of the most open seasons when it comes to fighting for the European places. The bookies have got Fulham in 10th, and I think you could put them anywhere between 7th and 11th. Like I say, they've put them in 10th. They're currently 9th. Raul Jimenez has scored 9 goals for them this season. Their most recent game was a 2-1 win away at Newcastle, but before that they lost 1-0 at home to Manchester United. So just like a lot of these teams here, just struggling for that consistency. Maybe the same can be said for Brighton, who are in 9th place. The bookies have got Brighton 9th. I mean, I say they're struggling for consistency, but they have been consistently drawing a lot of games this season. They've drawn 10 of their games, they've won 8, and they've lost 6. So they're not losing many, but I did see them lose 7-0 at Nottingham Forest last weekend. And once again, Herzl has come in. It is his first season, but it doesn't feel like a massive step forwards for Brighton this season, considering, the last couple of seasons under De Zerbi, they've been playing European football. I suppose it's still possible they could qualify for Europe or even go on a cup run, but the bookies have got them in 9th place, so do share your thoughts, Brighton fans. In 8th place, this is where things are getting interesting. They've gone for Villa. Now, what's interesting here is it does look like it's very likely that the top 5 will get Champions League this season. 6th will get Europa League. I'm not sure if 7th then gets Europa League and 8th gets Conference League, but there is still a way Aston Villa could get European football. The bookies have put them 8th. They've definitely got their fingers in a few pies because they're playing at home to Tottenham this weekend in the FA Cup. They're still going in the Champions League as well. They managed to finish in the top 8, which I think is crucial because it means they can avoid those extra playoff games. I think it's going to be interesting. I'll put this to the Villa fans. What are you more focused on? Do you think it's possible you could actually win the Champions League or get to the semi-finals, should we say? I think that's possible, but does that mean your focus from the Premier League will be divided between the two competitions? Obviously, we should mention that they've lost Duran. Watkins has scored quite a few goals this season. He's scored 10, and they've also brought in Marcus Rashford now, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Villa fans, do share your thoughts. The bookies have got you in 8th. In 7th place, AFC Bournemouth. Imagine this. Imagine Bournemouth in European football. I think it's possible. It's definitely possible. And fair play to them, because when they lost Dominic Solanke, I was a bit worried. But at the same time, you shouldn't doubt Bournemouth and their recruitment process. The players they've got, Semenyo, Kluivert, they've both been great this season. And if anything, they look better this season, don't they? And that's without Solanke. Iriola's doing a great job, and yeah, you fancy them to take points off the top teams, despite obviously the fact they did lose to Liverpool 2-0 last week, but we will come on to Liverpool in a minute, who are just a different animal this season. I think it's definitely possible Bournemouth could get European football, and the bookies have got them 7th. Let me know your thoughts. In 6th place then, Newcastle United. Now this is interesting. If Newcastle finish 6th, they'd get Europa League. Obviously they're still going in the Carabao Cup, and they've made it to the final, which is incredible. Congratulations to them, because they were brilliant against Arsenal. 4-0 on aggregate, by the way. If they win that, they get Conference League, but like I say, they should also be focusing on the Premier League to secure a Europa League place, or could still make the Champions League. And Newcastle United should fancy their chances to play in a higher prestige tournament than the Conference League. But wouldn't it just be great to see them win some silverware? I really think they could. They've been building towards it, but we will see. They got to the Carabao Cup final a couple of years ago, and obviously they fell short at the final hurdle against Manchester United. Newcastle fans, do share your thoughts in the comments. Like I say, they've been great to watch. They've been scoring 4s and 5s, and they've been great, but on the odd occasion, they drop points when you least expect it. Obviously, kind of threw it away against Fulham last week. They were 1-0 up, they lost 2-1. It's those games that could be crucial when it comes to who finishes 5th, or who finishes 6th, or who finishes 7th. Let's move on to the top 5 then, and I've done it like this because it does look quite likely that the Premier League will get 5 Champions League places, but it could still just be 4. It's a really interesting split here. We've got Chelsea in 5th place, but let's list all these teams together. Nottingham Forest are 4th and Man City are 3rd, but it depends what you're looking at the bookies here. When it comes to the odds on who's more likely to finish in the top 4, they think it's Man City, but who's more likely to finish in the top half? They've got Man City there and Chelsea there. So it is really interesting how you look at this. I suppose you might have to factor in that the bookies are weighing up the possibilities that Man City could get a points deduction. Either way, they've got it this way round, which would mean Chelsea finish 5th, Forest 4th, and Man City 3rd. Let's talk about Chelsea. Chelsea have been great. Just lacking that consistency, but they did go back to winning ways against West Ham last week. I think any team that's got Cole Palmer definitely has a chance of being in that top 4 or 5. And if it is going to be 5 that makes the Champions League, I think Chelsea will be in there. And that's what the bookies are going for. And it obviously gives Nottingham Forest a better chance as well. The bookies have got them 4th. They're currently 3rd. And we stand at a very interesting position with Nottingham Forest right now. Now, I've given Forest loads of credit this season, I've given them loads of praise, and rightfully so, they've been fantastic, but those last 2 results have really confused me, because they lost 5-0 to Bournemouth, and then they beat Brighton 7-0. Now, I don't think those kind of results are going to happen from here on in. I think they're 2 very strange results that are just sticking out like a sore thumb right now. The Bournemouth one was just dreadful, and I think Nuno wanted an emphatic reaction, and he got it. I think they will be consistent enough to get top 4 or top 5. I think personally they might finish 3rd. I think Forest have been better than Man City and could pip them to 3rd place. The defence is incredible. Murillo, Milenkovic, Aina, Sells in goal, of course. And going forwards, Chris Wood just keeps scoring. Morgan Gibbs-White is so good. I think Forest are going to be right in there. And just imagine, honestly, just imagine what it's going to be like. The Champions League at the City Ground for the first time in years. I think it's going to be great, and I think they're going to do it. And the bookies have got them in there in 4th place. And they've got Manchester City in 3rd, who are currently in a strange position. Obviously, they're having a bad season by their standards. That 5-1 defeat to Arsenal really did feel like a statement of where Manchester City are right now. But with the quality they've got, surely they can still find their way into the top 5. That's what the bookies are saying. They've got them in 3rd. And finally, that leaves us with 1st and 2nd place, and it will probably come as no surprise that the bookies have got Arsenal in 2nd and Liverpool to win the league. Now, first of all, Arsenal, look, they've had another good season, but it does look like they could just fall short again in 2nd place, which would be so frustrating. But Liverpool have just been better than them. Arsenal, look, they were great against Man City last week, 5-1 winners, but They've drawn 8 games this season, and 8 draws at this stage of the season is a lot for a team going for the title, so that is certainly killing them. They're definitely a good creative team and solid at the back and great from set pieces, but are they missing an out-and-out goal scorer? Because their top scorer this season in the Premier League is Havertz with 9. I think I've highlighted this before. If they had a Mo Salah, I know it's a big difference, but if they did have a Mo Salah, could they be level with Liverpool? Maybe. Let's talk about Liverpool. They've obviously got Mo Salah. They're obviously top of the league. They're 6 points clear and they have a game in hand. Now, that game in hand will be played out away at Everton soon, and if Liverpool were to lose it, it could make things interesting, but I don't see them losing it. I know Everton have been good lately, but Liverpool, at this stage of the season, have only lost 1 Premier League game. So you just struggle to find a way Liverpool are not going to win the Premier League. It would be a real collapse for them to be overtaken, in my opinion. They've got the best attacking numbers this season. They've scored the most goals, 56. They've conceded the fewest goals in 21. And they are still fighting on all 4 fronts. If you're an Arsenal fan, maybe you could make the argument that Arsenal are out of the Carabao Cup and out of the FA Cup and they can put more focus into the Premier League. But in my opinion, for Arsenal to catch Liverpool this season, I think Arsenal need to win every game from here until May, and Liverpool would need to slip up 3 or 4 times. So when it comes to the Premier League title, I am agreeing with the bookies that Liverpool have to be the favourites. And there you have it, guys. That is the bookies' latest Premier League table predictions at the start of February. Feel free to share your thoughts down in the comments. Share your own predictions, your 1 to 20 table predictions for the Premier League. Be sure to share your opinions, whether you agree or disagree, and be sure to like this video and subscribe. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot. Get involved, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Peace out.